Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my biggest fantasy romance book haul yet, filled with new release romantasy and stunning special editions from ApollyCon. Alright guys, this is by far my biggest book haul to date. I have well over 30 books. Now most of them are fantasy romance or romantasy, and a decent amount of them I actually picked up while I was at ApollyCon, which is a fantasy romance book convention. I was there this past weekend. I had so much fun, and I'm so excited to share some of these special editions with you. But I also have some dark romance and contemporary romance books that I'll save for the end of this video. And for every book, I will give you a spoiler-free plot synopsis, and if I've read the book, I'll give you my overall thoughts. But if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about all the books I've purchased recently. So starting off with Fairy Loot Special Editions, first up we have Gifted and Talented by Olivie Blake. Now this is the same author that wrote the Atlas 6 that was unbelievably popular when it first came out. I did read the Atlas 6 and I did really enjoy it, but I look at it more as a fantasy than a fantasy romance. I feel like there's really not a lot of romantic elements in that, despite the fact that a lot of people pitched it as being very romance heavy. But this is Gifted and Talented. I believe this is Fairy Loot's adult pick for the month, and this is following 3 estranged siblings that all possess unique magical abilities, and then after their death of their father, who is the CEO, they all start to vie for power, and there's a bunch of rivalries, and I think it's them all competing to become like the new head of this company. Now I do know this also has like sci-fi elements, and it does sound really good. I am going to give this a shot eventually. I will say on Goodreads, it does have under a 4-star score, so I am a little bit nervous about that. So if you've read this, let me know, what did you think? But this is what the naked hardback looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. And then it also has beautiful inside artwork, as always. But yeah, oops, there we go. But another book that I cannot wait to read. Next up is Fairy Loot's YA pick, Where Shadows Meet. So in a realm that has been scarred by ancient battles between gods, humans, and vampires, Princess Layla is determined to save her friend who has been kidnapped. So she ends up teaming up with an unlikely ally, a seer who can predict death, and together they venture to the Island of the Dead in the hopes to save her friend, but as they journey together, a romance soon begins to blossom. And I believe this features a sapphic romance, and I've heard very good things about this book. This, once again, is Fairy Loot's YA pick. I absolutely love the sword on the sprayed edges, and I actually don't think I looked at the naked hardback for this. So it does have a reversible dust jacket. This is the naked hardback. And then inside artwork. Oh, that is so cool. So that's the artwork. And then I'm assuming this is what the original cover looks like. So another stunning edition by Fairy Loot. And last up for Fairy Loot, we have Firebird by Juliette Cross. This is her newest release. It is a dark adult fantasy romance. So I actually have 2 copies, the Fairy Loot edition, but then I also purchased the traditional pub edition just because I really liked the sprayed end pages with the dragon spitting fire. I just think it's really, really cool. But if you're unfamiliar with this story, I know this book is having a lot of controversy surrounding it at the moment. We are following Melina, and at the start of this, Melina is a dancer along with her sisters. And one day while she is performing, she attracts the attention of a young centurion named Julianus. Now, immediately they have this connection, but they have to go their separate ways. But before they part, Julianus gives Melina this token that she ends up carrying around with her for the next 5 years. So 5 years have passed, and Melina's family has been killed by Roman soldiers. Now, what you need to know about this, in this world, the Roman soldiers are able to shift into dragons, so they are unbelievably powerful and very hard to stop. So Melina has just been trying to survive and maintain her freedom, but all that changes when she is captured on a battlefield. Now, before she can be taken and sold off or whatever happens to her, Julianus ends up seeing her across the battlefield, and he realizes that that is the dancer of his past, and he immediately shifts into his dragon form in order to snatch her up and make her his in order to protect her. Now, there is a lot of controversy surrounding this book, and I completely understand. Unfortunately, the publisher did not put the triggers that this does feature a captor-captive or a slave and master romance, which a lot of people are very uncomfortable reading. So it is very unfortunate the publishers did not do that. It's totally not okay. So I apologize if you read this book and it is not something you're okay reading about. That is really unfair. That being said, this book is also being talked about as being incredibly dark. As someone who reads a lot of dark fantasy romance, I do not think this is a super dark book by any means. It is dark. It does feature captor-captive. I do think there are a lot of people making claims about this book before they've actually read it or continued to read it, because there are a lot of big reveals as you progress through the book. So just before you pass judgment, I would say give this book a try. I ended up rating this book 4 stars. Honestly, I just had some issues with the pacing, and some of it felt a little bit insta-love for me. But yeah, once again, very unfortunate. I really wish the publishers had thought to include the trigger warnings. They are there for a reason. Hi guys, Editing Jess here. I am currently watching back the clips, and I realized that I kept talking about trigger warnings without saying that they have since added the trigger warnings that this is a captor-captive / slave master romance, or does feature that type of romance. This was only for people that received ARCs prior to ARCs going out. They did not have the triggers, so people that typically would not be comfortable picking up those types of romances were reading this book and were very upset. So they have since added it. I just want that note. It's not like they never added it back. They did add it, I think, 10 days prior to the book releasing. So know that. Also, no hate towards Juliette Cross. She is still one of my top authors of all time. I've read so many of her books and have loved them. And I do plan on continuing with the series. I don't want that to be a very negative review. I did enjoy the book. I just wanted to say I understood the controversy and wanted to kind of give my take on it. But with that being said, I did enjoy this, and I do plan on continuing with the series. All right, so moving into fantasy romance books I purchased at ApollyCon. First up, we have Reign of Shadows and Endings by Melissa K. Roehrich. This story follows Tessa, and Tessa is a fae outcast who unwillingly becomes chosen to be the personal source to the heir of Endings, Theon. Now bound by a magical connection, she ends up being entangled in this web of dark obsessions, dangerous magics, and secrets that could unravel the very threads of this realm. I'm obsessed with this series. It is my favorite dark fantasy romance series of all time. It does play around with the captor-captive trope, so please, please check trigger warnings. It is dark, but oh my gosh, I love this book. So full transparency, I found out I was going to ApollyCon about a month prior to the event, so I wasn't able to do any pre-orders, and I was desperate to get this book. So Melissa K. Roehrich was the first author I saw in the second half of the day. The way ApollyCon works is it's kind of broken up into 2 different parts if you only have 1 signing day. Anyway, I booked it all the way to her, waited in line. I was so nervous she was not going to have any available, but she had plenty. So I was able to get this, and it is one of my most treasured books. It is probably my favorite book in my collection. I just love this book so, so much. So if you can't tell, I love the Legacy series, and I cannot wait to continue. And next up, we have one of the best Peter Pan reimaginings I've ever read, The Last Lost Girl by Casey L. Bond. So when Ava's sister Belle vanishes into the night after raving about Neverland and the second star to the left, Ava is swept into a realm where Peter Pan rules with terrifying power. Now captured by Captain Hook, Ava must discover the secrets to this Neverland if she is going to save her sister. And this story does play around with the amnesia trope, which I really enjoyed. Typically, amnesia is not my favorite, but how this works is when you get to Neverland, your memories start to kind of change. So everyone is an unreliable narrator, and I was just completely hooked to this book. No pun intended. But this is the special edition I was able to get at ApollyCon. I just realized that was a terrible joke. I really did not mean to do that. But this is the inside hardcover and the back, and then it has this gorgeous inside artwork. And then I completely, oh, actually it has a reverse dust jacket. But I completely did not realize I also bought the hardback of The Last Lost Girl, which is, actually fine. I really wanted it last year when I went to ApollyCon, but KCL Bond was completely sold out. Because although this is just the standard hardcover, and I think you can get it online or on her website, it actually has this gorgeous artwork on the hardback. So Hook, and then I'm assuming that's Ava, but so pretty, and it has those sprayed edges. But The Last Lost Boy, which is the sequel, I'm pretty sure just released or is about to release in May, and I cannot wait. I am so excited for that book. And next up, we have UnBreaking by LD Waters. Now, unfortunately, there is no audiobook for this, but as soon as one drops, I will be reading this. But the story follows Zorelia, and Zorelia, after making a wish for a happily ever after, immediately regrets her decision when she is then trapped in an immortal, loveless marriage to this monster for about 500 years. Now, desperate to end this curse, she ends up binding the fae that I believe set the curse to herself in order for him to find a way to break it. And I think it's going to be a romance between the fae that cursed her and herself. So, sounds really good. Sounds like something I will love. Hopefully an audiobook drops soon. But with this book in particular, I actually picked it up because the author was holding up different pages, because this is actually illustrated, and I believe the author is the illustrator. So, an amazingly talented human. Oh my gosh, the pictures in this are beautiful. So I'm really hoping an audiobook drops soon. And next up, we have Grave Matter by Karina Halle. This book is stunning. Unfortunately, I have not read this yet, but I really hope an audiobook drops before spooky season, because this just sounds like it's giving all of the gothic vibes. This is following this girl named Sydney who is longing for a second chance and believes she finds it when she is invited to, I believe, study Alzheimer's with a group of other students at this remote island that is apparently surrounded by fog. So already setting a very creepy atmosphere. But anyway, when she gets there, she finds out that all of the students are harboring secrets, and not only students, her professor, who apparently she is falling in love with, also has secrets that he is unwilling to share, and then students begin to go missing. I believe there's some sort of haunting, and it just sounds like it is the perfect book for spooky season. So I cannot wait to get to this. I know Karina Halle normally takes sometimes years with her audiobooks, but I'm really hoping this one comes out soon. And once again, this book is just absolutely stunning. And although Keri Lake was not at ApollyCon, I did pick up 2 books at the Bookish Box table. So the first one is Nightshade by Keri Lake, which is the first one in the duet. And then the second one is Infernum, possibly. I could have said that wrong. But I know this is a really creepy, dark fantasy romance duet. Now, I did start the first book. I believe we're following this character named Farron, who, in searching for secrets, wanders into Nightshade, which is some sort of like purgatorial realm where lost souls linger. And then I have no idea what happens from there. I started the first book, but I actually started it last summer, and I was like, this would be perfect to read during spooky season. And then I never picked it back up. So I am determined to read both of these books this October, or this fall at least. But I just saw these books and I thought they were absolutely stunning. I kind of wish I was subscribed to the Bookish Box. I know that a lot of their books are very delayed. However, these books are gorgeous. So there's that. And then the inside artwork. Super pretty. And then I can't remember if I showed the inside artwork of this one, but and then they also have reverse dust jackets. I will say the Bookish Box, their table at ApollyCon was so well managed. Like, they had those lines moving super quickly. So whoever was running that, kudos to you, because you guys did a great job. But overall, these are 2 books I am very excited to read. And next up, we have the special edition that actually came with my ApollyCon ticket. So depending on what ApollyCon ticket tier you purchase, you're given a swag bag, and in that swag bag, it has certain books or special editions. I had the middle tier, so I got Born of Blood and Ash. I actually think everyone received this book. It's just if you had Primal, you received a few others. But this is the conclusion to the prequel Flesh and Fire series. Now, I am still 2 books behind on this series, and also announced at ApollyCon, Jennifer L. Armentrout made the announcement that although the From Blood and Ash series was supposed to only have 1 more book, it is now going to be broken up into 2. So there are 2 more books releasing in that series that I am also not caught up on. But I actually do love both series. I really, really need to finally finish. But the reason I have 2 books out here is because, like I said, this was the free book we received this year, and I will say this book is rather chunky. But this is the book we received last year, and I have to say, I much prefer this one. I really love how they added, like, the shine and the embossing, and I just think this is a much prettier book. Also has the end pages. Then this one was just, it was kind of boring. I have a few thoughts about ApollyCon. I might end up doing a, like, sit-down video. I don't know if you guys want to see that. But overall, I was a little bit disappointed by this, but still very excited to finally finish both series. And next up, we have the Bookish Box Special Edition of White Horse Black Knights. So in this Lady Godiva reimagining, we are following Sabine, and after 12 years of living secluded in a convent, she is sold to this villainous High Lord who requests that she travel to his kingdom completely nude, besides a certain soldier that he is going to send to accompany her, who also possesses a magical ability or 2, and it is a romance between our main character Sabine and the person that is sent to protect her. Now, I loved this first book, and I was so excited when one of my friends messaged and asked if we could do a special edition swap. So I just got this book in the mail, and it is so, so, so pretty. So once again, I kind of wish I was subscribed to the Bookish Box. I feel like I really missed a lot of pretty special editions, and they seem to have a lot of books that I really, really enjoy. But this is another one that I never continued with the series, and I definitely need to go back and do a reread. So I do think I'm going to reread this in May, and then hopefully pick up the second audio later in May, because I did just download it, and my friend April from Happily Ever April says it's amazing and has been waiting for me to finish this series. So I cannot wait. And next up, I have 3 copies of The Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass, my favorite Why Choose romance of all time. I love this book so, so much. So if you're unfamiliar, the story is following Alexis, and Alexis lives in a world where Titans have come and pretty much destroyed everything. And the only creatures able to stop the Titans are Spartans, who are descended from gods. Now, like I said, Alexis is an orphan, and she's actually being raised by these very abusive and neglectful foster parents, and she is just trying to survive. So when her 18th birthday comes and she takes this test, it is shown that she actually possesses Spartan blood. So she is immediately whisked away to this Spartan war college where she has to fight to the death. And if she survives, she'll be granted a mentor who will hopefully train her on how to be a really powerful Spartan. And the story really goes from there. The humor in this is so, so good. There's also a pet snake that I just absolutely love. And there is a quote in this book that is one of my favorite quotes of all time. A man was speaking, so I immediately stopped listening. I love Jasmine Mass, one of my new favorite authors. I cannot wait to read more of her backlists. But anyway, why do I have 3 copies? So this copy, which is actually my favorite one that I own, was so kindly gifted to me from my friend Kat. It was a Christmas gift, and it arrived the same day that I actually met up with Kat, and I met her in New York City, and we got to see Pencole and Jasmine Mass speak. And it was so, so much fun. I do not go to a lot of author panels, but I found this really interesting, and I cannot wait to attend more. Now, I was able to get a copy from Barnes & Noble that I had personalized and was signed, but I'm actually going to be giving this copy away over on my Patreon, so it's only going to be open to the US, unfortunately, but I'm very excited to give this to one of my patrons. So this giveaway, I think, is going to be happening the first week of May, and it should be really fun. You can win a signed copy of Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. And these next 3 books were also in the ApollyCon swag bag. So first up, we have The Return, which I just found out is the first book in the Titan series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which I've never read. All I know about this is we were following this college kid named Seth, who is for some reason bound to the gods, and he ends up having to protect this girl named Josie, who doesn't know about her divine heritage and I'm assuming it's going to be a romance between them. I have been talking about kind of going down Jennifer L. Armentrout's backlist for a while. There's a few series I never picked up, and I'm very curious if I would like them now, having read so much other fantasy romance, because she really was my first like dive into fantasy romance. So anyway, I do think I will be reading this eventually. Then we have Bluebeard's Curse. I know essentially nothing about this. When I read the plot synopsis, from what I remember, we're following this guy who ended up losing his wife and is now searching for a new wife, but this new wife has to be able to kind of stay away from temptation for a year and a day. I'm assuming that means not sleep with him for a year. So if anyone's read this, let me know. It is very, very short. And then last up is The Mastermind, and I believe this is just a bunch of different novellas that are from the 1001 Dark Nights publisher. So I might pick this up when I'm like on the beach or just want some light reading. But those are 3 books that were found in the ApollyCon swag bag. All right, this next book sounds so unhinged, and I need the audiobook immediately. So it is Kiss of the Basilisk, and apparently this is following this girl that lives in a realm where basilisks teach maidens about the art of seduction in order to try to win the prince's hand, and our main character ends up being partnered with the Prince of the Serpents, I believe, or like the King of the Serpents, and apparently he stays a serpent during some of the spicier times. So I am very intrigued. I will say this book is gorgeous. If you can't tell, the sprayed edges, it's like a wine goblet and grapes, and it's really pretty. I am just so interested because this is not a short book. I feel like most of the monster romances I read are fairly short. This is kind of chunky. I'm very curious. So hopefully an audiobook drops soon. And next up, we have Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Now, I'm sure some of you are like, girl, you already own that book. Why is it part of this book haul? But this was actually sent to me from Keri from Book for Romance, which was so unbelievably sweet. So prior to me getting my ticket for ApollyCon, I was so bummed that Keri and a few of my other friends were going to Romantasy and Callie Hart was going to be there. Obviously, I was happy for them, but still had a little bit of a case of FOMO. So Keri ended up getting me this signed copy of Quicksilver from Callie Hart, which was so incredibly sweet. So thank you so much, Keri. Actually, when I went to ApollyCon this year, it was insane trying to get a wristband for Callie Hart. So this just took a lot of the pressure off. So once again, thank you so much, Keri. And next up is Our Infinite Fates. This is actually a young adult fantasy romance that has a very similar vibe to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I just finished this book yesterday, and I have not been able to wrap my brain around it. I have no idea what I am rating this book. I don't even know if I enjoyed this book, I loved this book, or I really disliked this book. I had such a range of emotions. But in the story, we are following Evelyn, and Evelyn has lived countless lives, all dying before her 18th birthday. And she dies at the hand of Arden, who is the boy that she is destined to both love and always lose. So that is the best synopsis I can really give you, because I feel like while this is better to go into somewhat blind, you will be confused. I had no idea what was happening throughout the first half of this book, and the pacing is kind of slow. That being said, the world building and like the prose of this are beautiful, and everything is beautifully described, and a lot of emotions I feel like are evoked through this romance. And yet we don't see a lot of the romance. It's very hard for me to describe this book. I'm hoping I will have a better review for you in my whatever month it is wrap up, in my April wrap up. But I actually read this because I will be participating in a live show on Clint from Reed's Readers channel on April 27th at 3 p.m., I believe. And along with Amanda from Amanda's Booktopia, I will leave all of their information and the information about the live show down in the description below if you would like to join us. But overall, there were parts of this book I very much enjoyed. There were parts of this book that I felt were very much bonkers and didn't really belong in this book. And yeah, I have no idea how I rate it. And I've already gushed about this next book in multiple videos, but Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins is a masterpiece. It is the most recent release in the Hunger Games series, and it is following Hamish Abernathy in the second quarter quell, where he will have to try to survive in the Hunger Games against other tributes in the hopes of being the lone survivor and making it back to his district. Now, like I said, I loved this book, and I am not the biggest, like, Hunger Games fan. I ended up picking this up as just a bit of light reading. I knew it would be sad, but I honestly didn't expect to bawl my eyes out while reading this. I was crying for a week after finishing this book. I still keep thinking about this book. I have so many theories, and I just feel like this book came out at the perfect time. It really shows how media can manipulate a narrative for their own means, and I loved this book. So if you have not read this, highly, highly recommend. I love this so much more than Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think that one I gave like 2 stars. This is like a 6-star book. It is so, so good. And I've heard a few people kind of really wishing into the universe that the next book is actually following Plutarch Heavensby. And I think that would be amazing. I would love a book in his perspective. So hoping that happens, but oh my gosh, this book, so, so good. And I ended up picking up The Weaver by Tiffany Roberts at ApollyCon. So about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, I read the Spider's Mate trilogy. I did a kind of book swap vlog with Jen from the Book Refuge where we picked books for each other to read. And she picked Ensnared, which is a spider romance. I never in a million years thought I was going to enjoy that book. Oh my gosh, it was the cutest romance ever. So I did end up reading, I actually never read the last book in that series. I read the first 2. I still have to read the last one. But I decided while I was at ApollyCon to grab The Weaver, which is like a companion novel. So it's following another human that I believe is on the same world as Ensnared. And she ends up in a romance with her fated mate, which is another spider. So I am very curious if I'm gonna like this as much as the first book, but I have very, very high hopes. And moving into dark and taboo romance, the day after I got back from ApollyCon, a package from Bloom Books showed up. So it was Dear Reader by Tate James. It was actually this really cute PR box. I'll leave footage of it on the screen. But this is apparently a dark, like, secret society romance. We're following this girl named Ashley who ends up being accepted into Nevaeh University. The only downside is her stepbrother already goes there and all of his elite and pompous friends. So she is determined to ignore them, but I believe she kind of gets sucked into this secret society that has all of these rituals and hazing, and it sounds really good. I love dark academia and secret societies. I also really enjoy Tate James's writing, so I'm positive this is going to be a 5-star. And next up, we have a special edition from Hello Lovely. So it is The Bachelor by Marnie Mann. And I don't know if you can read the text. This is actually like a faux velvet, I think. It's a very interesting choice. But in this story, we are following the ultimate bachelor. I believe his name's Camden. And he ends up doing this like secret agreement with his twin sister's best friend, Oakland, that he will teach her the art of seduction. And I'm sure while he is teaching her, they start to have feelings for each other. So another book I will hopefully get to soon. And I did end up purchasing 2 taboo romances while I was at ApollyCon. So first up we have The Nanny is Off Limits by QB Tyler. This is a nanny age gap romance, so I'm very excited to get to this. I had planned to read it on my way to ApollyCon, but I was reading another book, I got completely sucked in and wasn't able to get to this one. But I have a feeling this is going to be a really fun and spicy time. And then the other one is The Broker by Nikki Sloan. This is her most recent release in the Nashville Neighbors series, I believe. But I actually did read this. I never talked about it in my wrap-up. I'm not really sure why. But this is following this girl that used to be pampered by her father, but then she ended up making some mistakes, moves back home, and now she's working as a maid. And then she ends up having a one-night stand that turns into more, and it kind of explores group spice the time and voyeurism and all that fun stuff. If you've read her Nashville Neighbors series, all of them are incredibly spicy. The Doctor is still my absolute favorite. It's essentially Birthday Girl, but a lot less plot and a lot more spice, but really, really fun. And this is probably my second favorite. I did really enjoy this one, and I'm excited to continue her series. And last up, we have Kiss the Villain by Rena Kent. So it was actually just announced that this will be the first in a 3-book series that's kind of like a spin-off from Legacy of the Gods series, which is by far my favorite dark romance series. Oh my gosh, I miss those characters already. I am ready to reread God of Fury. I love them so, so much. But anyway, when this book was announced, I was very excited. I will say this is much darker than all of the books in the Legacy of Gods series. I didn't think that was possible, but oh my gosh, Rita Kent really popped off with this one. Super, super dark, so check trigger warnings. Now, this does feature a taboo romance. It is a student teacher, so we're following Gareth, who we met in the Legacy of the Gods series, and he ends up entering into a relationship with his professor, Caden. And at first, they really dislike each other, and they're trying to kind of one-up each other, but it slowly turns into this very beautiful romance. And while they were not my favorite couple by far, they're probably one of my least favorite couples, honestly, I still enjoyed this book and am very much looking forward to the next couple we are going to see in this series. It was teased in this, and I have a feeling I am going to love it. So I am so ready for that book to release. Alright guys, that is it for my giant fantasy romance book haul. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the books I mentioned. I do want to take a second to thank my new friend Gloria. Gloria is the reason that I was able to attend ApollyCon. She is the person that had the extra ticket. And honestly, I would have had a terrible ApollyCon without Gloria. I just want to say thank you so much. This was my first time attending ApollyCon or any sort of book signing without any friends or family with me. I was completely by myself. And she stuck with me, which she did not have to do. So I don't think you realize how much that meant to me. So thank you so much, Gloria. I cannot wait to hang out again soon. And yeah, it was just such a cool experience. And I'm so thankful for everyone I met during ApollyCon. There were definitely some really fun line chats I had. So if you happen to watch this video, can you comment down below so I can add you on Instagram? There are so many people I wish I had added and I just didn't think about it at the time. But oh my gosh. So anyway, I had a wonderful time and I hope you guys enjoyed this book haul. I do want to say a special thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Jess, Kat, Lotta, Leslie, and the Sarah Andrea family. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.